Hello, everyone. A very warm welcome to this session on maternal self care for new parents. I'm Dr. Shoma Chakravarti, and I will be guiding you through this session, which is designed mainly as a gentle exploration of what needs are being very hard to meet for you all as new parents, and how we can match that with a self care regimen that's the best possible for your life right now. This session comes to you as a part of the return to work journey in the program run by HERA. As you navigate this next transition that comes after you've adjusted to life at home with the birth, you're going to have so much to think of, so many factors internal to your home, so many factors external, and it can be very easy to lose sight of you. Through this workshop, we are actually just going to gently look at certain elements that you may want to keep in mind, a certain mindset, a certain revision of expectations that may be needed to become more intentional about your self care. There are no hard and fast rules here, no right way of doing self care. It's really about arriving into yourself and connecting with yourself compassionately so you can take that forward into your new family and the way you want to run and build your family. Let's look at what self care is first. So, very often we think of self care as going to the spa or retail therapy or eating something we like or vegging out on the couch with a whole bunch of like junk. But actually, if you look at self care as a way of restoring ourselves, as a way of taking care of ourselves, it means to build a very intentional set of daily practices. Practices which center on how we eat, how we sleep, how we rest. But to make the mindset shift from self care as a thing I can buy to self care as a thing I practice, we have to first arrive into an understanding of what our body serves for us. So, on the face of it, it may look like the body just takes us through life, but the body actually holds the code, holds the scripts for everything that we do. And we want to be a little intentional about how we protect our body. To bring this sort of into sharp focus, let me all ask you a question. What what would it be like, or how would you care for your body if the body was your home? If you related to your body like your home? To take this analogy further, think of how you treat your home. You take care of it, you protect it, you keep unwanted elements out, you only bring in the elements that are restorative, and you genuinely want your home to be a place that you want to come back to and feel good in, sort of sink in, right? Now, if the body is to be treated as our home, we want to develop a sense of how it functions, what it does for us. So, the first thing that the body does is it senses and adapts what we are feeling, and we only need to be listening to it for it to show up. So, for all new parents right now, maybe you're really feeling the lack of sleep, you're feeling like you're on the edges of a burnout. That's really your body doing its job of holding your story and picking it up and telling you, pay attention, something's going on for you. The second thing is the body holds our stories. The body holds our lived experiences. So all new mums on this group have gone through an enormous transition of growing, birthing, and taking care of a new baby. And each of you may still have a very different story. Some of our stories may be filled with some parts of the journey that did not go well for us. Some of our stories may be beautiful, powerful stories of transformation. All of this is actually seated and carried through in our body. And at Hera, we believe a lot in the power of individual stories being honored. And this goes into how we design our self care plans and regimens. Another thing about the body is that it's deeply capable of renewal, of weathering transitions. If you look at the way nature operates in terms of seasons, in terms of growing, in terms of decline, in terms of weathering and conserving our energies, the body has a similar template for us, and it helps us sort of collect our resources and use them in the best possible way, provided we are listening to it as we navigate tough transitions. And the last thing is a note on compassion, which is very important for new parents. Any single day in your journey as a new parent so far, you may have compared yourself so many times with other parents. You may have received so much feedback which asks the question, what am I not doing right? What am I doing wrong here? Or when you have a bad day at work or when you have a difficult day with your child, It could be very easy to fall into the trap of criticality, which says, I should have thought of it, I should have planned it better, how could I miss this? But you have to give yourselves grace and meet yourself where you're at, noticing how many things you are actually managing and how maybe a year back none of this was known to you. Acknowledge your growth, acknowledge your transformation, and not sweat one or two big disappointments, and instead actually offer yourself some grace, saying, this was the best I could do today. So, mental health lessons from the body. Let's look at how we start beginning a self care regimen or practice. So, our self care journeys will very often begin with noticing our needs. Yes, this is something we can actually build as a practice and be intentional about. Very often, this will begin by taking some slow moments and noticing what have been our common complaints, frustrations, aches, and pains in the body. All of these will point us to certain needs that are not getting met. And when we recognize that, okay, my body has been achy for a long while, or when we recognize that I've been feeling very resentful about how little free time I'm getting as a new parent, it can be easy to ignore it and feel like nothing can be done about it. But if we were to truly listen to our body, the next step would be to think of one small action. Maybe not the most grand way of meeting that need, but what's the next best thing I can do about getting some downtime, getting some rest? Maybe all I can do right now is a warm shower, but being intentional about noticing that unmet need and matching it to this small action. Once this link is established and once you're cognizant of it, we want to try and repeat it as consistently as is possible. It's very important not to get into a trap of a streak mindset where you feel like because I had a great day with the baby and I could get so much done, I will be able to do it on repeat every single day. Very often, life with kids and life with work is so charged, so unpredictable that one or two off days are not things we want to shame ourselves about, but we want to sort of integrate that and tell ourselves that 4 out of 7 days is great for a new habit. Or if I've missed one day, I've missed the next day too. Third day, I'm going to find some time, nudge myself, and take care of myself in a way that I can. It's also important to induct other people into this process. Let's not get into a trap of feeling like all our needs have to be met on our own. But as always, begins with noticing our needs. And I would encourage all the parents on this call to be a little mindful, take intentional pauses through the day, and check in what's coming up as an unmet need. Let's look at what the various unmet needs could be like. Needs can exist on so many domains and they can be very granular, very unique to each of us. So I may be someone who needs like a walk every day, but many of you may feel like you just want some time to watch that old TV show that you used to love watching. So everyone's idea of what makes them whole, what makes them feel rested, restored, whole is a unique configuration, but it would usually show up along these dimensions. Physical needs tend to do with, have I had enough sleep? Have I had a good meal? When was the last time I drank water? Why is my body feeling so stiff? Social needs are to do with how we are feeling connected and the fact that we belong in our families and in our communities. Remember that this may not feel like an outright not belonging, but motherhood, early parenthood is extremely isolating just by the nature of how much time has to be spent exclusively with the baby, which directly cuts us off from connection. So, how do we bring friends into our home? How do we bring family members into our home so that at least small pockets of time when the child is asleep, we can actually meet our social needs? Another big area is mental sort of reserves that you have because it's so grueling, these transitions in the initial months. You could really feel completely spaced out. Lack of rest could result in brain fog. It could make you feel like your brain has just changed over completely. Sometimes this may just be about rest. It may be about taking a hard look at your diet and seeing if you're getting enough minerals, enough specific nutrition factors that could be depleted from the breastfeeding journey. It could also be that you're feeling overwhelmed navigating a lot of things that are going on and you need certain boundaries, you need certain practices to sort of edge up and sort of protect your resources. Emotional needs could be to do with connection, could be to do with the space to speak freely, to feel safe, right? With early parenthood, it can be a time where we are so centered on meeting the emotional needs of the baby that we've forgotten about us completely, right? And very, very often we talk of mothering the mother, that if you want the child to be well, you actually mother the mother, because there's a lot of energy coming to meet the emotional needs of the child. But it is actually the mother and the new parents who need to be sort of treasured and cared for and supported in a way that finally gets directed into the child. And many of us may be experiencing parenthood as also like a spiritual transformation crisis. It, whatever it may be, it can be so gratifying to know that you can be so many things for one tiny person. It can be very, very intimidating to feel like you are now in charge of making this little person a person in the world outside. And if you feel a spiritual sort of calling, know that, like pause, prayer, meditation, or even just sitting and journaling about some of these thoughts you're having, listening to a podcast on, what spirituality could be for new parents, maybe just a small way of tending to that need. As complex as are our needs, it's really wonderful to see how much centering we may feel when we pick up on these needs and become a little intentional about catching them when they're feeling like they're becoming like a little bit of a rankle, and giving them the space that it needs to bloom. While there could be many needs, let's make it a little simple for all of you by giving you four major domains to look at. The first, of course, is nutrition. We are what we eat. And in times of transitions like early motherhood, breastfeeding, all the crazy nights with the child, it's very important that both you, the mother, and the father are nourished well, that you're getting at least dense, solid meals, even if not in the schedule and of the variety that you once enjoyed. But that fuel is going in for you to do what this needs. For this, you may also have to be a little clear on the fact that in a transition, the mother's body needs food differently. It may be needing a lot of calories, it may be needing a lot of dense, fatty food, nuts, seeds, fruits, fiber. And if it feels very overwhelming to sort of carve this out for yourself, it's also okay to take help. But being fueled and being hydrated are two very, very important factors for new parents. And practical tips to make this sort of work is keeping snacks, keeping water handy, generally trying not to sort of criticize the diet choices we are making too much. It's also very important that both parents sort of come to acknowledge that they're, just because right now the rhythm is different, the routines are different. The mom may be carrying, of course, some amount of pregnancy weight. That's actually what this transition needs. That weight goes into helping our body feed the baby, right? So the whole bit of returning to our pre-birth babies and bodies, etc., can wait a little bit while we do what the body was actually intuitively trying to do at this phase, which is nourish and help the baby flourish. So the next pillar of our self-care journeys is movement. So from research, we know a lot about how in the world of animals, they take care of all their nervous system and all the stresses and strains of their life by moving, which is why animals who face much more threat and danger, life and death kind of threat, actually don't get sick. But we human beings have, of course, become very, very sedentary. Movement has become very, very sparse in our lives. And that's even more so for new parents who are limited to home. And movement is a very, very critical piece also to letting emotions that are difficult for us, letting stress that we have collected over the days sort of flow out of our body. And again, as we know that, going to the gym may not be feasible, or like a regular yoga practice may not be feasible, we have to find gentle ways, small ways to incorporate this fact that we want to experience our body in a different way, moving, not sitting, active, not sedentary. It has to be woven into our day wherever possible. This actually also gives rise to a lot of experimentation. So you can take your baby and have a shake to some music. You can have a family dance moment. You can also just get up in the morning. If you feel like you have 2 minutes, just get some stretches in, because a little movement does go a long way in improving our mood, improving our energy levels, improving our focus. And another beautiful thing about movement is it takes really nothing except like making a pivotal moment of that thing, saying, okay, I have this time. I could be vegging out and just checking Instagram, or I could just be, ruminating, thinking, making a to-do list for the day, or I could move and just track your body and see how it feels after you made this moment's shift. If you feel like, wow, that felt great, that is the reason you want to try and do that the next time and the next time. And that's how we build a self-care regimen. So the next major piece, and the one that gets very, very disrupted for new parents, is rest. Rest would include within itself, of course, deep restorative sleep, but also naps. And when naps are not possible, just a pause, just 10 minutes to shut your eye or 10 minutes to sit quietly with your tea. It's understood, and it's actually wired into nature and our bodies that sleep will be something we sacrifice for our babies in the first 1 to 3 years. And of course, this is the most impacted for new moms. And some of this is actually evolutionary. In fact, research does show that mothers' brains change significantly to prioritize less deep sleep, because they are also sort of simultaneously designed to become very, very attuned to the baby's cries. The same changes also happen for the brains of fathers, but not to that extent. So now that this is the context we are at, how do we switch from reframing rest to a good 8 or 7 hours of sleep that you may have been used to whatever is possible in this current context of ours? This may mean that we take a very solid nap when we know that the child is with child care, or with your partner or with your parents. This may also mean that you just want to prioritize like 5-10 minutes of sitting quietly with a beverage. It may also mean that on a day when you really feel like you're completely burnt out and you're not able to function, take a hard stop, give the baby to someone else for the night, and actually get that sleep. Very, very often we tend to sacrifice, and we feel like the hard way is the only right way for a new mom to take care of the baby. But a mom who's rested also goes a long way. And at some point, we have to figure that the rest that we have is also something we are using to take care of the baby in the long run. And rest when you can, forgive yourselves for when you can't. This is a really tough journey for the first 3 years, especially if you're co-sleeping. And it's sort of okay to expect a little bit up and down with rest when the child gets sick, when the child has a vaccination or something coming up. We have to prep for the fact that this will be something that we will not be able to take very easy for some time. And the last very important piece, which needs a mindset shift for new parents as well, is our need for connection. The world today, especially when you look at social media, it feels like if you have the right devices, right strategies, right steps, right kind of help, it may feel like we are able to do this journey of early parenthood very easily on our own. This is also primarily because we are very often exposed to images, etc., from the West, right? Where it is a very individualistic society. But if you look at how babies were raised traditionally, it needed a village. If not a village, it at least needed a joint family where you had many other adult carers for the same child or same group of children. They also had other children around the same age. And we have really forgotten what it is like to have had that village. Many of us are, dual income families. We are in urban spaces. We live far away from our homes. So this whole element of outside support has just turned and whittled down to professional childcare, which is your nanny. But it's very, very important to realize that this was something that was a community experience. This was something that was a familial experience. And now modern mothers probably have it the hardest. Modern parents have it the hardest because they're trying to meet all of those needs of parenting a child, of work, of working on their marriage, of sort of safeguarding their finances, of building the life they want for their child, almost completely in isolation. And very, very often, new parents will have to make a mindset shift. We will have to sit down and say, maybe that's not how we saw it, but we have to be okay delegating. We have to be okay taking that vulnerable step and calling a friend and saying, I'm having the worst day. Can you please come over? Or, maybe it's a lot to ask, but can you just do this for me one day? It may also mean that we practice sharing in a way that's actually more open or vulnerable rather than saying, I'm okay to everything when people ask us stuff. It may mean to say, I'm not okay. Me and my partner have been having a lot of fights. We know it's not what's happening. It's just that we may be very tired and we've been struggling with this a little bit. Sometimes when we open up like this, others share their experiences to us, and you may realize that many, many other people are going through this very, very same thing, but not feeling safe to share because we're generally wanting to look like we're okay all the time. And this is a very, very powerful source of social support for moms, which is other new moms. In my time with my baby, in the first 3 to 6 months, I actually found new moms or moms who had gone through birth recently were so incredibly helpful. They would always point to what I was doing well. They would always say things that normalized what we were dealing with. They would very often say, follow the doctor. When we were overwhelmed with advice, new moms come and they just give you that information that you need. And it very often comes without the feeling of, I know better, because they're just telling you that we have also been in this journey very, very recently. It was just as hard for us. And it sort of equalizes or normalizes a lot of the anxieties that you may be feeling as new parents all alone. And that really is the benefit of relying on making ourselves amenable to relying on other people for help. You heard a lot about self care today. You heard what it means to pay attention to your needs. How do we recognize our needs? How much of this may, involve you doing a check in what's happening, taking an inventory of what's happening with food, what's happening with rest, what's happening with connection and movement. And it may be very tempting to form an ideal plan now, feeling like we will be starting this tomorrow, we'll be doing this way, we'll be doing it that way. And the momentum is great. But while we are trying to action this out, just a word of caution or just a word of advice about setting gentle expectations, because you are still in the throes of several transitions. Yes, you have a child who's now getting a little better, getting a little more autonomous, trying to communicate so you don't have to figure out what every cry means. But you're also having to resume work. You're also having to get back to finally taking care of your home, maybe. And self care now is coming up in a context which you've never really experienced before, where so many things are dynamic. So, when you start to take back from this workshop and plan your self care regimens, try and keep in mind that you want to do what's doable in your current context. So, no lofty goals, no streaks, no grand sort of ways of feeling like we are perfecting this now. What is the best thing that's possible today? Today we've had a bad start to the day. We've not had the best sleep. Baby's, teething, baby's crying. What is the best thing today? Maybe all you can do is feed the baby, play with the baby, and log into work for yourself when your help comes. That's the best for the day. On another day, maybe when things are great, a walk to the park can be added for both you and the child, and that's going to be one step better. We have to be okay with a little bit flexibility in these stages of life. Lowering the expectations, setting the bar at where we are at, acknowledging that even that's taking some effort, acknowledging that you did what was your best today, and tomorrow, if it's a worse day, setting the bar even lower and saying, this is not a time for thriving. If you just survive, it's great in the early months of the child. And it's very, very important to sort of reframe the notion of balance we had as, parents, or we had as not as parents, but we had as people who hadn't had kids. At that point, balance may have felt like, you get to go to work, you get to go to the gym, you get to socialize a little bit, you get to call people home. Now, balance can change every single day. There may be no balance at all on some days. This is not really a time where you will have anything sort of possible on repeat. And doing the doable ultimately speaks to this, that each day shows up uniquely, it shows up in a very, very dynamic way. It shows up with things we have not sort of foreseen. What if your child has a fall, right? But I would also encourage all of you to keep minds open for the good surprises, that one day you'll wake up and you'll see your child is crawling. Few months later, you'll see he's walking. And to keep in mind that when we are not able to do all the things how we planned, It's also that it will only get easier from here because the children are going to just get more and more independent with the months and with the years. And this phase will pass, and we will, of course, emerge from it beautifully and eternally transformed. And if we have been able to take even some steps to model this sort of self compassion and this sort of self care for our children, then that goes a long way into building a family practice that allows everyone to think of self care as not something you can buy, but something that you build. And that would be such a wonderful legacy to pass on to your kids. Big piece of self care, of course, is also acknowledging emotions that can come. And in a transition like this, very, very often we feel tinges of sadness, tinges of wow, missing your old life completely. Uh, Self care may also mean that we acknowledge the things we are feeling without judging. So, when we long for something that we had before the baby, when we regret some parts of this journey, when we find some parts of this journey to be difficult, we may feel a sudden slap of shame like, how can I be feeling this way? Why would I be feeling this way? Don't I love my baby? These are very yes, no, black and white ways of feeling. Self care may also be that we open ourselves to the breadth and depth of what we are feeling. And very often, a transformation like new parenthood, of course, comes with grief and sadness about the life we have had to leave behind. For mums, it could be the fact that so many selves that you were no longer are no longer accessible to you. For new dads, they could be actually longing the partnership that they had with their parents, the free time, the leisure that they had at one point. And instead of shaming ourselves for feeling that we are wrong in missing some parts of our life before, we can actually use this as an opportunity to just take a trip down to the past and notice what that longing is about. Where is it taking us? What are we actually missing? Sometimes you may feel like it'll actually throw light into some ways in which you are still you, and of course, bring immense pride in all the new things you learned in the last year on top of who you were. This could also be a way in which we go back and we honor our past joys, take pride in previous achievements that you've had. You know, what was something that you did really well? What was something that you cooked really well? What is it that people sought you out for at work? And telling yourself that all of the things that you built are actually still inside of you, waiting to come back at a time when your child needs a little bit less of you. Sometimes savoring may mean actually scheduling some time to go out and enjoy that activity. You know, maybe leaving the child with your parents or someone who will look after them and go out for a coffee with your partner just to remember what it was like when you could do that. And the last thing may be to sort of, use this piece as a way to think of things you miss, but also think of things you're grateful for and acknowledge that all of these things are a part of the journey of life and that they're sort of showing up for you because that journey was important, but this phase is beautiful and the things we are holding off right now will, of course, come back to us again. So, just a set of reminders again, a sum up of the session that we have. Your body is your home. It may take some time to start thinking of it like that, but once we've been able to connect with our body like that, it is very, very possible and beautiful what comes out of tending to it like our homes. And in the journey of treating our body like our home, the first thing we would like to look at, of course, is nourishment. What are we eating? How are we eating? Are we eating mindfully? Is it actually feeling nourishing? Fueling ourselves is very important for us as new parents because that gives us the fuel to take care of our children. The second big piece, of course, is movement. How are we getting any amount of movement? How can we incorporate our life with the baby and movement into some sort of a regimen? What it does, of course, is enormous goods for our mood, for our energies. It beats depression, and then it's really something that we want to prioritize as a way of caring for us. Another big one, of course, is rest. Of course, acknowledging that rest in these initial years of early parenthood is be very, very difficult. But being a little intentional when we have some free time, do I want to prioritize TV or do I want to catch a nap? And what would be more useful in the rest of the day to come? And the last one is allowing ourselves to really understand, embrace, and really sort of take up the goodness that comes when you prioritize connection. This may mean some uncomfortable steps like sharing something that we are finding difficult or asking for help, being okay delegating. But connection goes a long, long way in making us feel like we are not alone and making us feel restored. In this journey of self care that we are sort of talking about, in the whole journey that we've been talking about at Hera, just a few reminders. Of course, you matter, your mind, your body, and your wholeness are essential elements of who you are as a parent. The second thing is self care first. We cannot fuel from a cup that is empty. We don't have to repeat that story. We can take care of ourselves in a way that goes a long way in nourishing our children and our lives. And we are here, Care, Content, and Community is here to listen to you and be there for you as you navigate these tremendously demanding early years of parenthood. I hope all of you enjoyed this session on self care. We also think that, self care is a journey, it takes time, there are no right or wrong rules. Just reiterating that there is no key takeaway or no one way to do this. Please feel free to take these inputs and make your next day a little bit more intentional in any way that you see fit. Good luck with everything.